All right, I'm recording now. So, welcome to the Modern Business Mindset Masterclass. This is going to be the first masterclass in the Hack Studios Editorial Fellowship. I'm here with the first fellow, Fiona, here, and this class is really for her benefit, but it's also for your benefit as well. If you're watching this after the fact, I wanted to create this class I wanted to record this masterclass because what she's trying to do is not unlike what you're probably trying to do. This is an editorial fellowship, but it's also a program in business creation. And starting out really in creating your own business and setting out on your own. Because when I left the military almost a decade ago, it was hard to get out of that mindset of somebody else is working for me, somebody else is going to tell me what to do. Now all of a sudden I've got to shoulder everything on my own. And that was hard. It took me several years to be able to get out of that. Okay, it's just me. It's a little bit scary, but then there's also a lot of opportunities here. So, hey, Gabe, what's up? There he is. Thanks for joining, man. So I just wanted to talk about in 30 minutes. I'm going to try and keep it at 30 minutes. You know, I dry ran this, Gabe, and it took me almost an hour. I'm not gonna go in an hour, man. I'm gonna try and keep it fast, and I've already taken too long in this slide, so I'm gonna have to get to it. All right, so let's get into this. Here's what I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk a little bit about myself because just got to give some context, and then I'm gonna talk about business mindsets. Really, the things that I think are the most important mindsets that you need to have when you're striking out on your own, no matter what your business is going to be. Why businesses fail, and how to avoid it. We want to avoid our business failing, of course. So I'm going to talk about that. 3 things your website needs, why you even still need a website. This is something that people think they're dead. They're not useful anymore because of all the social media and AI and things like that. I've got news for you. We're going to talk about that too. And then strategic social media. Social media is a huge topic, but I'm going to try and focus on just the essentials for what you need to know and what, Fiona, you should know when you're first starting out in the business context for social media. All right, so here's me. I'm Keith Hayden. Been writing and publishing books since 2017. My first book published in 2019. I published my first novel in 2021, and since then, my goal has been to tell my own stories and help other people tell their stories. Very passionate about storytelling. Really rooted in my history in the military because a lot of our stories just don't get told, and they get very glamorized and romanticized, but the real stories don't get told. U.S. Air Force veteran, 8 years active duty, former special agent, and I've made a couple of bags with writing. I want to make more, but I have been paid for my writing. I've been ghostwriter. I've written for my own newsletters, several different newsletters, podcasts, you name it. I've done a lot of different stuff in the creative space, and now here I am. I've also posted 10,000 plus times on X. Gabe can attest to that to various effect. But yeah, so I've been in this game for a while, and I've learned a couple of things, and I'll share them with you here today. So key business mindsets. And Fiona, we talked about this a little bit during our first meeting, but passive to active. I mean, and as I alluded to when I first started, when most of us are young, we're basically trained to wait. We're trained to wait until the next grade level. We're trained to wait until we graduate, until we get the job, until we meet the girl or the guy, get married, that type of thing. It's all a waiting game. That's what we're conditioned to do. In the world of business, modern business at least, waiting doesn't work. You have to move into an active phase to where you are the one going out and seeking out clients. You are the one that is seeking out opportunities for growth and experimentation. I'll talk a lot about experimentation here today too. But that's a big first mindset we want to talk about. And then you can see the next one, experimental iteration, always. It's always about experimentation because guess what? There's no school for this. There's no degree for this. Well, maybe there is some type of degree program or something for business. I myself have an MBA. Honestly, I can tell you I've never used anything that I learned in my MBA. First of all, it was like 15 years ago. So, second of all, it's like they don't teach you. There's a lot of theory and then there's some practical stuff, but they don't teach you what it means to be in business now with our current tools, especially with AI on the rise and all these opportunities, and things are changing very fast. So, what does that mean? That means you need to be constantly experimenting with things on your own and narrowing your focus in your field. And we'll talk about narrowing your focus down in a little bit. Oh, and by the way, Fiona or Gabe, if you have any questions, let me know. I can just chime in. Customer influenced and creativity balanced. What does this mean? We are in an entertainment and educational industry, meaning, unfortunately, we are not selling survival goods. We are not selling food. We are not selling shelter. We are not selling water. We don't sell those things. We sell essentially discretionary goods. And Fiona, you as an editor, you are a part of that discretionary goods pipeline. What does that mean? That means people don't need to read us. People don't need our services. That means that we need to go out and articulate our value to these people, because it's not immediately apparent that their book, if they read my novel, their life's going to be transformed. It might be. I hope it is. But there's no guarantee that it's going to be that. So people are not going to seek it out. So when it comes to business, and this is something that's hard for me as a creator at heart, you need to find a way to include the customer. My first novel, I knew nothing about tropes. I knew nothing about market. I knew nothing about audience. I knew nothing about writing book blurbs. I didn't know anything that I needed to actually sell my novel. I didn't know what I needed barely to write it. All I knew was the English language, and I had enough patience to put it down on the screen. But that didn't equate to sales. And when I tried to sell it after I'd been working on it for a year and a half straight, guess what? I barely sold anything because I didn't know all of those other things. I wasn't thinking of customers or readers or anything like that. I've since learned that it's much more important to think of those things earlier than later. So that's more for the writers here, but it's important in any creative craft. You can't just create something and expect people to buy it. Last thing in the mindset is consistency beats speed. There's a big emphasis on going fast these days, especially with all the AI tools out there. But, and Gabe, I know you probably will feel this point because I felt it too. You just crash much faster. It leads to burnout. And I see Gabe nodding because, yeah, I've been there. I've been there too, man. And you just get tired. And we'll talk a little bit more about this when we talk reasons why businesses fail. But the point is, you want to be building good systems and habits now when you're first starting, not when you've gone viral, not when you've found product market fit. And I'm speaking in more like tech terms and things like that. But these things, trust me, they apply to your creative pursuit as well, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a group of people who appreciate the way that you see the world, your interpretation of the world. That's who you are trying to connect with through your art or through your services. Fiona here with editing. That's what you're looking for. So bottom line is, you need to build these things now and not just rely on just getting blown by the winds of whatever's popular or what's going on. Any questions on these mindsets? These are just the 4 that are most important to me. Okay, cool. Questions anytime, of course. Let's see how I'm doing on time. Okay, I think it's been like 5 minutes. Definitely slow, but faster than this morning. Why businesses fail. These are the top 3 things I came out with. There's a lot of, I think when people think of business failure, I think the stat that I got when I took a entrepreneurship class when I got out of the military was that, I don't know, it's some stupid, ridiculous, made up statistic why businesses fail. I won't even repeat it. These are the main reasons though. Lack of vision. They just don't have the master plan. They're good at the nuts and bolts. They're a great writer, editor, carpenter, whatever their service is, but they lose the focus, and so they don't know really where they're going. They can only see this far ahead of themselves, not the long-term vision. So they just get disillusioned of it. They get tired of it, even if they're successful. This is why business might fail. Second is, this is one that I've fallen into so many times, focusing on too many areas, weak core offer. It was probably a year or two before I even had a damn core offer. It's like, what are you selling, man? Like, nobody knows. And then focusing on too many areas, right? You're trying to be the content creator who also, or you're trying to be the writer who also ghost writes, who also does consulting, who also is writing genre fiction, that type of thing. You're just trying to be in too many places at once. That's fine after you've established a core offer and you've found some traction, but we really need to focus in the beginning to make sure that we're well grounded. And then the last one I already talked about and mentioned, burnout, right? It's too much too fast, too long. And the burnout usually doesn't come from running out of money. It doesn't come from lack of resources or feedback. None of the technical stuff that you would think. It's usually an emotional burnout. I've put my stuff out there so many times. I've been ignored and rejected so many times that I can't take this anymore. It's a very sad feeling, and I've felt it. It probably hits me once every other week that I've spent all this time writing these stories and putting out these YouTube channels and voice acting and doing all this stuff. I probably sit in this chair at minimum 8 hours a day, and nobody read it. Nobody watched it. Nobody liked it. Do that a couple of hundred times, a couple of thousand times, and it does begin to have an effect on you. So this is a big reason why people quit. But I don't want you to quit. Here's how you avoid failure, in my mind. Have a mission statement, right? And you can see my mission statement at the bottom. September 2021. I get to Japan. My novel had dropped earlier that year. And like I said, I was trying to sell it. But I didn't have a business. I had a book, but I didn't have a business. And I remember I read a book by another veteran who was talking about this type of thing. It was like a money type of thing. And from that book, I created this mission statement that you see here: to inspire human culture through education, technology, and story. And this is not the mission statement for my business. This is the mission statement for me, Keith Hayden, personally. And I thought if I can align everything to that, I will always know that I'm moving in the right direction. And so how do you avoid failure? This is step one. This makes you avoid the lack of vision that we talked about that might get you to quit. You'll never have a lack of vision because you'll always know. You'll always have the North Star guiding you. Next is to construct a compelling core offer. Have that one thing that is, if everything else falls away, if you run out of money or something terrible happens, you can always go back to that skill. This is what I call my top 1% skill. This is the skill that I always want to be honing every day. I want to be sanding it down so fine. This thing can cut paper. That's what I'm doing with my writing. I decided that that's my 1% skill. What's yours? For Fiona, maybe it's editing. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's going to be something else. We don't know. Gabe, hopefully you've got something in mind. I'm putting it up. It's just a bullet on a slide, but trust me, this is not easy to come by. This is a winding path through the forest that can take years, and it's taken me years to figure out that this is what I want to do. I meandered for 3 years online, and it wasn't until about a year ago when I rebranded myself and started, not just rebranded externally, but in my mind, I started calling myself the digital novelist. Because I knew I mainly wanted to write novels, and I knew I was interested in technology like AI and all these other things and coding. And I wanted to find a way to marry those up and do something different. And so that led to this and in the past year, it was literally like flipping a switch. As soon as I rebranded from my previous YouTube channel to Digital Novelist, I think I gained like 15, 20 subscribers in one day. Why is that? Because it was clear all of a sudden what I was doing. Before it was like, okay, I would just post it felt kind of random, even though it was all storytelling in my mind. To the external, to the potential consumer customer, it looked kind of scattershot. But then all of a sudden it's like Digital Novelist, oh, okay, I know exactly what he's talking about. It's not for me. I don't want to write novels. Or it is. And I'm interested in that too. So this is how we're thinking of this. And I've already mentioned how to avoid failure, building healthy systems and habits. And I put always iterate in capital letters because you don't want to end up. Another quick story. When I growing up, my mom was in Amway. If you've never heard of Amway, have y'all heard of Amway? You okay? Fiona hasn't heard of it. Gabe has. I'm not surprised you haven't heard of it, Fiona, because it was big in the 60s through the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll get the Amway salesman. And so Amway used to be, Fiona, quick history lesson, is, man, I'm having a hard time coming up with anything other than a multi-level marketing scheme.
But it was exactly that.
It's one of these schemes to where like I'm like triple diamond or something, and they had these levels, right? You're ruby, you're sapphire, you're emerald, and then diamond was like the best, right? So I'm like, this guy's like triple diamond, like, hey Fiona, you can be triple diamond too. And let me tell you how. All you got to do is buy these weak ass products. They're all like knockoff versions of other products, of like existing products. Like we didn't have Capri Sun, we had Activate, right? True story. And so you get these products and then you go and sell them to other people to make your money, and then you get a cut from me, the higher level person, and then on it goes, right? And this has evolved into our X and Substack gurus. But back in the day, Amway was it was a big deal. Like for about, I don't know, I think I remember looking up the history once. I think it started in the 60s. But yeah, my mom was into this. And so this is why I put this always iterate. And one of the reasons is, and I love my mom. And mom, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, I'm using you as a as a case study. But she did this almost throughout my entire childhood. And I remember listening to the tapes with her, and there would be very motivational, Les Brown type, people, not who's somebody more contemporary who does this type of Tony Robbins. Have you heard of Tony Robbins, Fiona?
Actually haven't, no.
No. Okay, never mind. It's okay. He's an old guy. Forget about him. But Tony Robbins, he's another guy. Like motivational speakers, basically. These are people like this. I don't think you younger people have an equivalent. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, so we would listen to these tapes and get all fired up. That's the word they would say. They would be like, I'm fired up. I would hear him say. And I'm not going to say she never made any money with it. In fact, I don't know if she did, but she never built the business that was promised to her. And part of that is just the scheme of Amway, right? It's just kind of like, it's not really designed for people to move up. People are kind of cherry picked, very much like social media can be now. But it was also on her because she was not doing things differently. Like I would see her doing the same things all the time. I never saw like an advancement in her personal business. And that was a powerful lesson to me as a kid, because now that I'm old enough to have my own business, I know that's what not to do, is to just keep doing the same thing and expecting things to change. That's not the way it works. So what is your mission statement? You don't have to come up with one now, Fiona, on the spot, but just thinking about mission statement, and you as well as watching. Thinking about this is a great exercise. All right, let's transition to talk about websites real quick. You probably heard they're dead. You probably heard that websites are for suckers and that AI has just scooped them all up and nobody visits them. Nobody surfs the web anymore. Everybody just goes to YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Partially true. But let me tell you why you want a website. And it says it right there. Control. You can put anything you want on your website. And yes, it is true that the websites of old that had like, I just think of, Gabe, I think of the old ones that had the sidebar full of, the ads and all this stuff. And yeah, it's just total trash. You go on there and all these things are flashing and all that. That's like early 2000s. Y'all don't know nothing about that. But now websites tend to be much more cleaner. They're so much easier to create. I remember spending hours, days on my first website back in 2017 when I wanted my website. And now you can literally spin one up in an hour and it can do exactly what you want it to do. What should your website have on it? Who you are, what you do or offer, quick access to whatever your offer is. And you may not be able to provide full demonstrations. And I was thinking of your situation, Fiona, as far as editing. Like, how could you show that to somebody that you have experience editing? And I thought, well, easy. You could take something that you edited for me, and then we could just do a simple before and after, a screenshot. That's a basic, but it gets the point across because I'm gonna tell you, most of these editors out here, I've been on their websites, they got nothing. Their website looks like it's from 2005. They don't have any testimonials. All they have is the first two, who they are, what they do, and there's nothing showing them. But the modern website is basically a landing page. It's a landing page, and then the bonus is the email capture. There's a lot I could say about email. I won't go into an email masterclass right now, but yeah, you want to start collecting emails. It took me 2 years to heed the advice and start doing it, but yeah, sooner is better than later, because you are going to own all of those people and you can take them with you, unlike social media. Last bullet, why don't I put socials on my website? I'm going to use a marketing term, but I want my website to be the bottom of my funnel. I don't want people to leave my website. I want it to, if they come to my website, it's the last place they go to either leave, it's not for me, or it is for me. I want to keep reading, or I like this so much, I want to keep hearing from this guy. Or I want him to help me, that type of thing. And then on the next page, I have an example. This is a screenshot from my website. And you can see I start out, I'm a digital novelist, language learning expert. I write stories for and with you. And then you can immediately see my project. So my website is kind of a hybrid. It's half portfolio because I am a writer and creator, but then it's half services as well. So most websites either do one or the other, because the point of the portfolio is to get a job, get an opportunity. The point of the other is to get clients, paying clients. Mine is both. Fiona, for you, it's probably going to be a little bit different because you're not focusing on the creative side as much, at least not for now. So yours would be outward facing. I'm Fiona Adair. I'm an editor. This is what I can do for you. And then samples. And then you'd capture emails. Any questions about websites?
It is kind of getting into details, but when it comes to like
Sure.
samples, do you think it's better like to have them embedded or kind of like a link to external?
Definitely embedded.
Okay.
If you can prevent them from leaving,
Yeah.
then prevent them from leaving. You want to keep them on the page. And that's that landing page design, right? Because in the websites of old, it would have been link out. But just like everywhere else, like in this, and we'll talk a little bit more about social media, but yeah, social media is basically locked down. They all can do everything now. Back in the day, it used to be YouTube videos, Twitter short form, Facebook, LinkedIn, posts, text. Now they all do everything. So none of them want you to leave. They're all closed kingdoms. So we need to do the same thing on our websites as well in order to capture the few people, because you're not going to get the organic web traffic of old. is dying, because I'm sure you've Googled something recently, and what did you get? An AI summary, right? They're calling it zero-click internet. Have you heard this term?
I've not, but
Gabe, have you heard this? Zero-click? No?
No, I hadn't, man.
So
But
zero-click internet, real quick, is basically these services, Google, the big ones. They're basically trying it to where when you search for something, you don't have to click on any links. Why? Because the AI is going to serve everything. It's pulling from all the websites. So say you search for sci-fi, military sci-fi novels. Hopefully I would come up. I probably don't come up, but let's say I'm on the first page. You would not get to my website because they would just give you a list of military sci-fi authors. Keith Hayden's among them. Here's his catalog of books, Amazon links, links to website, Gumroad, whatever. And you would just tell the AI, oh, okay, I'm interested in one of Keith's books. Buy it for me. That's zero click. So the idea is to get it to where you don't have to search for anything, and stuff just basically comes to you. Very convenient if you're a consumer, kind of a nightmare if you're in our situation. If you are trying to get business, it's kind of hard. It's like the old school example of they built a highway in front of your house and you're a burger shop on the corner, but then now there's a giant ass highway right in front of what used to be Main Street. This has happened, and this is what's happening online now. And it's scary. It's scary times, because a lot of people used to, and thankfully I came up a little bit after this era where it was all, or you wanted organic traffic from SEO and from external sources, from social media. But as I said, social media is now walled gardens. They typically don't want to link out as much. So we are left to fight for scraps of the dregs of people finding their way to our stuff. So that's kind of hard. I'll say one more thing about having a website. There's a YouTube channel called Novel Marketing. I think it's just called Novel Marketing, and he did a recent YouTube video on this. But I mentioned SEO used to be the way that people found stuff that we wanted to be ranked on page one. Increasingly, people are finding stuff through LLMs. Google Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude just got a massive upgrade yesterday. This is how people are discovering things. So I'm going to ask you, does the AI know who you are? Does ChatGPT know who you are? Because very soon, if they don't, then you're going to be the equivalent of on page 2 of Google, and nobody's ever going to see you. Websites can help with that, because as you blog, as you format things and put information on your website, AI is combing the entire internet. It's constantly botting and sweeping and scraping. That's how it gets to know you. And then, of course, the other way is to directly interact with things like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and things like that. So keeping that in mind is going to be huge for build your website. All right, how are we doing on time? Okay, not bad. Could stand to speed up a little bit. All right, so let's talk about social media. Social media is the street. It is the new place to find customers. And I came up with this analogy for myself with social media a while back, because I think it works. When people are out on the street, what are they doing? Typically, depending on where you live, they are going somewhere. They are doing things. They are not standing around and waiting for things. Sometimes they wait for like the bus or something, but they're waiting for the bus to go somewhere or to go back home. The point is, people are always moving on the street. It's the same on social media. It is a moving target. And Gabe, I know I'm preaching to the choir because I know you know this. It is a moving target. And I think thinking of it that way, especially when you're first starting out, because if you're watching this training, you have probably used social media. But if you're like me, when I started, I had never used social media to actually want to attract attention. I was just on there for my friends and family, just goofing around, that type of stuff. But it's different. It's a different game when all of a sudden you're like, man, I want people to see me, but for certain reasons, and I only want certain people. I don't want everybody to see me. So that presents a problem because all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're out on the street twirling a sign in your underwear trying to attract attention or do something crazy like that, right? And this is what some people do. You may laugh at the example, but this is what some people do. They go to any lengths to get attention. They don't care whether it's good or bad attention. And I'm sure you see this every day in your feed. You see the clickbait and the rage bait. It's all there. But we want to be known for our core offer, for our mission statement. We always want to be known, and that takes time. That's harder than just going out and doing something random. So how can we get that attention? Well, your profile needs to be outward facing, and this is another change that you need to mentally make, that when you put your profile on social media, you really need to, I hate using that word, Gabe, that everybody use, value, right? You need to...
Oh yeah, I hate that word
I'm
too.
so sick of that word. But it is true. You need to, whatever you call it, you need to be outward facing to where when people find you, they know this is how this person could help me. And it needs to be very apparent and very quick. So you can see I put down the formula there. Title, credibility, active project, specialty, offer. Let me go over these real quick. Title is what you call yourself. And this is the thing. Your title is anything you want it to be on here. You don't have to wait for me to give you a title. If you put junior editor or even editor in your title, Fiona, I ain't going to be mad at you. In fact, you probably should. Do not put aspiring. You are not aspiring. You've already edited like 5 of my stories. Like, you're an editor. And I'm not just talking about to you, Fiona. I'm talking to you that is watching as well. You ain't aspiring nothing. If you've done it once, then you are that thing, okay? People put aspiring when they're thinking about it. If you are thinking about it and you have not done it, okay, put aspiring. But then I'd say just don't put it on there at all because you ain't done it. But after you do it once, you do think. Next is credibility. Credibility does not have to be, I have made $1 million or I have a gold YouTube play button or something crazy. It can be something small. It really can be. It could be you were the editor for your college magazine. Fiona, you've done that. You could put that on there totally. And now you can put, I've edited 5 stories from an active working author, that type of thing. Something like that, just to show that I'm doing this thing. It doesn't matter how small. Just show that you're doing it. That's credibility. Of course, awards, and the more you can associate yourself with someone who's already successful or a successful entity, that's better. But when we're starting out, we probably don't have that. So we've got to work with what we've got. And then active projects, specialty, offer. This is the closing of the loop. If title gets them in, credibility makes them pass a gate that says, okay, I'm liking what Fiona can do. Active projects is if you're on the creator side. That's me. I'm writing my 3rd novel. Here's a link to my 3rd novel. Specialty is something maybe for you, Fiona, specialty and offer. Like, say you decide to specialize in, I only work with military sci-fi authors. That's what I like to edit. I only work with romance authors. That's when you would put that. And all of a sudden, when they get to the end of this simple description, they know immediately if what you're offering is for them or if it's not. So it's a good filtering mechanism to just weed out people who, you don't have to waste your time on any discovery calls or anything like that. Just weed them out, read the profile. If it's not for you, bounce. And here's the example from mine. It looks very bare bones, but trust me, to get my profile this clean has taken years. I've changed it so many times. Gabe, how many times have you changed your profile?
1 million, but I probably should have changed it at least double that, man.
Yeah. I remember there was a time when I was changing it like literally once a week or something like that. Like, because it's that experimental phase, right? Experimenting, but it's taken me a long time to land on this specific what I'm doing. And so this is just an example of what you can do. Where should you start with this? Because there's a lot of places you could be on social media, And I'd say just start with one. It's good advice just to start with one, and then just select the platform that you're most comfortable with. It could be a platform that you're already on. It could be one that you just have been on it forever, or the one that you know the most people on. It doesn't matter. Just pick one and just do that for a few months, just especially in the beginning, because trying to be everywhere at once. I mean, I've done it. It typically does not work for the long term, especially. Maybe if you're like in a release phase and you're really trying to maximize exposure in your marketing, like when I put out my second novel or something like that. But if you're not in that phase, then just focus on your one. Post as often as you can while still being helpful or engaging. This is the street. So try and go out to the street at least once a day, if you can. But don't, but I'll talk about this more in the next slide, the social media pitfalls. But don't let it overshadow your core offer or your mission statement. You should always prioritize that, because it's easy to say, but once you start getting into things, it's easy to let social media just become just a fucking shadow over everything that you're doing. Engage with others, and as I've been saying, experiment often. You got to run experiments, because you don't know what's going to work. So you just have to try, especially in the beginning. Social media don'ts, man, here they are. Ignore the haters and the trolls and the bots. They're out there. There's an army of them. There's more bots every day. Yeah, I get botted daily. All of them have bots. X is particularly bad for bots. LinkedIn, surprisingly, has a lot of bots. Instagram, I've been getting more, I call them, Gabe, hot bots. The girls.
Yeah.
The girls coming up. 0 followers. You know? Oh, great post. All that stuff. Like, I got one the other day that was like, it was like a breakup DM. It was like, look, just take this money. I'm not going to say anything. I just want to do what's best for me and our son. But there's no hard feelings. Here's the password to this account. There's $3.5 million inside.
Oh, of course there is.
I was like, man, this is the 2025 equivalent of the 2004-2005 Nigerian Prince email. Have you heard of this one, Fiona? Okay, you have. Yeah. You are the heir to the throne of Tanzania, of Dar es Salaam, and you need to come over immediately to claim your riches. Yeah, man, that was a classic back in the day. But yeah, the bottom line is, yeah, ignore these guys. Avoid drama. Some people are just on social media for drama. See it every day. Just forget about that. Forget about chasing trends and virality. I will tell you, premature virality is kind of a curse. And Gabe, I'm sure you've seen people get this, and I've seen it too, to where you go viral, you go viral for the wrong reasons. It's not the reason why you want to go viral. Because if you don't, if you go viral for the wrong reasons, then people start following you for the wrong reasons. And then it just leads to a massive dump off after a day or so, because those people are like, I only followed you because you had one witty tweet or one hilarious meme. And now that's not your main thing, is putting out witty tweets and hilarious memes. And so, yeah, it's a waste of time. Obsessing over analytics. This is a big one. Like, you can try and optimize the hell out of your stuff, but especially in the beginning, that should not be your focus, is optimizing. It should just be helping people and meeting people and expanding your network. I made up this word, and I thought it was very clever. Algorithmology. You won't get a degree in algorithmology. There are people that all the time claim to have solved it. They have figured out the algorithm. And they will tell you that, hey, all you got to do is follow me, and I can tell you exactly how to win on X. I can tell you exactly how to work Instagram to get this. Gabe, I know you've seen these. Nobody can figure out the algorithm. It literally changes every day. And in fact, there's not just one algorithm. There's multiple algorithms. I have it on good authority. that there's not just one. There's algorithms for messages, there's algorithms for DMs, there's algorithms for police and hate speech and all this stuff. You're not going to figure it out. So just don't optimize that. I see people algorithm chasing daily, especially on X. This is really bad there. People just literally have hour-long spaces talking and complaining about the algorithm. It's like, look, you're not going to figure it out, so just forget it. And then last one I put, buying guru content. I've wasted way too much money on this stuff. If my wife knew, she would probably hit me. If she knew how much over the years that I'm sorry, baby. I was trying to learn this stuff, you know. But don't do it. These people are it's the modern equivalent basically of Amway. They will tell you if you buy my product, you're gonna grow on X, you're gonna grow on YouTube, and Fiona, if you are ever interested in one of these courses, let me know. Because one, I've probably bought the course. Two, I can tell someone who knows their stuff from someone who's just selling a dream, which is unfortunately most people. So that's social media don'ts. And this is the last slide, my rules for just surviving on social media, because it really can be a grind. That emotional burnout that I talked about, social media like accelerates it, because it's just so, like I said, you're going out in the street every day, and the street is not always friendly. Most of the time it's not. You get ignored, you get attacked, you get made fun of, and sometimes by people that you least expect it from. I mean, it might be, one of the biggest surprises when I started this was that my family and friends, they just didn't get it. They, they love me and all, but they're like, what are you doing? Like, everybody thought of me as the military guy. Everybody thought of me as special agent. So when I started posting fiction and stuff, it's just like, it took them a long time to kind of readjust to like, this is really him. He's really doing this. It's taken years. And so I hope maybe you have a more supportive network than I do. But historically, when I've met other creators, most of them, it's the same thing. They are going off script than what they were raised to do. They're trying something different, and it's not an overnight success. Surprise, surprise. So back to these rules I try to follow. Minimal social media on my phone. I think I only have Facebook on my phone. I don't do notifications. I keep them off. If I want to, if I want to check social media, I want to check social media, but I don't want to hear from it if it's not time. I only check if there's something to post. So I try and follow this rule. I don't do it often enough. YouTube is my worst sin, that I go on there just. There's so many good videos, and the algorithm is really good. Like, it's gotten very good to where it's like really now connecting me. This is another good byproduct of having your offer locked in, right? It's really connecting me with people that are very similar to like, it connected me just recently, just yesterday, to another veteran fiction writer who just started. This is rare. Like, you're not going to run into this guy on the street. And YouTube connected me through that. So it's gotten a lot better. But for that reason, it's kind of dangerous, right? Because there's always something good on there. And then having an email list. Have the email list, because that's going to be your safe haven if the algorithm just decides to curse you or you get banned for some reason. We've all had the account lockouts and the technical stuff. Somebody said X was under cyber attack today, or there's some fire at a data center. X is just not working very well today as I'm recording this. So you never know when that shit's going to happen. So that's why you have your email list to fall back on. Okay, so that was the last slide. Yeah. I think it was a little long, but that's all right. Fiona, do you have any questions? And if you have, if you did a website or you did something you wanted me to look at, I can look at it now and give you some feedback if you'd like.
I don't have one currently. I'm like still in the brainstorming stages.
Okay.
I am curious, like when it comes to, I guess, the social media aspects that
Yeah.
isn't like, like what do you post?
Good question. And I've got some tactical stuff for you, by the way. But what do you post? So in the beginning, you want to post things, and they talk about different categories for posts. There's informational posts that are related to your specialty, your core offer. So for you, it would be editing. And it could be like before and after is just a basic one that I kind of thought of. Um, it could be you're critiquing certain lines or something, like you could post videos of that. Um, so these fall in the educational, informational posts. Then you have like personal posts. Everybody does occasional personal posts, and these are good to kind of vary things up, to just talk about yourself, who you are, because as much as I don't like it these days, sometimes people do expect to know you a little bit, you know. And I think this is where a lot of old school editors, in particular, just editors, go wrong. Is that they're treating it as if they just have an old school office. So they're not doing the social media game, but this is what's kind of required now, especially younger people expect to be able to go on. Oh, here's this YouTuber talking about his life, and there's the occasional completely off-brand post, that type of thing. You can post those as well. There's a bunch of other categories that I could give you too. Inspirational, aspirational type of posts. I did a whole course on this, or actually really good course on this, but that's a good start for you. I would say start with, because you're so new, you can start with what you're learning. Like if I were you, you could take something that you learned from this masterclass today, and hey, today I learned this from this masterclass, and that would be great for me because then you'll be like, hey, I learned it from this guy. I learned it from Hack Studios. But then it's also good for you too because it shows you're learning, and because you're a recent graduate, I mean, there's not going to be a lot of expectation for you to have a lot of expertise in certain fields, but a lot of people have made big audiences and big strides just showing their learning journey. Showing, this is classic in the coding example, right? 100 days of code. I did 100 days of code a couple of years ago, and that's all it was day one, I learned this. Day two, that, and so on, all the way to day 100. So I'm doing that right now, actually, with my drawing. I'm doing the drawing 100. This is just a personal thing, but every day I'm trying to draw a little bit. And so if I wanted to, in fact, in the past, I probably would have posted more of my, like, every day 19 or something. So you could do that. You could do something like an editing 100. People love following these little meta stories of actual people learning things, especially we love underdogs, especially here in the US. We love the story of somebody coming up from nothing. And so showing that, I think that would be a great way to start for you. And which platform are you thinking of starting on?
Well, I do have like it's not very current. It's from about like a year ago, like an X account because I had a
Mm,
classmate who like she had connected with editors and stuff on there, so she was
yeah.
just recommending it.
Cool.
Um, so I feel like I'd continue on there.
Okay. Yeah. Good place to start. Great. As that's X and YouTube are where I'm at these days. So you'll see me on there as well. And Gabe's on there too. Gabe's on X. That's where we met. Um, any other questions? That was a great question. Okay, so if there's no other questions, then I'll go to any comments from our guest mentor, Gabe. What's up, man? Let me hear you.
You know what, man? First of all, um, it's good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Also, it's a pleasure meeting you, Fiona. I think you're in the best of hands. Keith is the fucking best, and yeah, he's such a polymath, and I really love this guy, man. Yeah, you mentioned you bought like every course, and I was curious to know like which of them are worth it, if any.
Good question. The one I was mentioning was by the video that I sent you earlier this week, Fiona, Nicholas Cole. He had a course called Ship 30 for 30, and that was a great. It's less about um, writing fiction. It's more of like writing in general, but really got me started with writing online. It was kind of the genesis of. I took this course in fall of 22, so it's going on 3 years now. But it was probably, and at the time I told him this is the best course I've ever taken, and I think so because of the way it was organized. It was a cohort based course. Met a lot of great people in there. They had it to where we could actually meet the people that we were in class, because a lot of these courses, they're either all video and text, just asynchronous type stuff, um, or it's all just like Zoom calls, and they talk at you, and then you don't have time to actually. If we were taking a real in-person class, I would be able to turn and talk to you, Gabe. I would be able to talk to you, Fiona. So I felt like they simulated that really well in Ship 30 for 30. I'm trying to think of another course that was good. Um, that's my rule. If I can't think of it off the top of my head, it probably didn't stick or land with me. Justin Welsh has a good course too. It's a little bit pricey, and his stuff tends to be too much on the corporate side. Like he comes from like the corporate world, so his is all about like getting on client calls and all this stuff. So if you're running a client based business and that is your bread and butter, so Fiona, it might be something for you to look into, because he's got a whole system that is pretty good, and he goes through content creation, he goes through pitching people, he goes through just everything that you would need. Basically, he calls it Creator MBA. That's the name of the course. I got it when it first came out, and I'll be honest, I didn't finish. I didn't finish because I'm like, well, fuck, I'm a creator. Like, I'm not necessarily trying to get clients. Like, most of my clients come from like referrals and stuff. But I think that his course is very high quality course. If you were trying to do a client-based business, I recommend that one. Most of the social media courses, though, I would stay away from. I bought this one from this UK creator. I won't name him because I don't want to give him shine. But I didn't think it was that good. I thought it was kind of lame. I bought other ones too that just, those are the main ones. Ship 30 for 30. The problem with Ship 30 for 30 now is that he's moved on to other projects. So it's not, as far as I've seen, I think that experience back then was very unique. I mean, as you know, back 2022, 23, that was kind of the last peak of X. I mean, there were so many people on there in 23 and 22. And now it's not like that anymore. There are still people there, but it's just not like it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So yeah. You got to watch out for these courses, man. Good question, Gabe. Any other questions? Contact, this is me, KeithHayden.net. There's only 3 places now: YouTube, X, Twitter. That's it. So if you want more information, I'm planning on putting together a newsletter for fiction writers to really learn how they can make money from their fiction, because a lot of us are frustrated fiction writers, and I am there with you. I feel the frustration of the way the times are changing so fast. How can we compete? How can we stay not just ahead, but how can we just keep pace with doing this thing that we love and that we feel called to do, to tell stories? How can we do that in a way that is actually feasibly sustainable in real life? It's a hard problem, and I work on it every day. I think about it every day, and I think this might help. I'm going to be launching something very soon to my email list. So if you're interested in any of the stuff that you've seen in this masterclass, then head on over to my website, KeithHayden.net, and go ahead and you can subscribe, and you will see things about it very soon. And that's it. We already had the questions. So I think that's it. That concludes the masterclass. Okay, I got it in an hour. Yes. All right, great. When I rehearsed it an hour, I was like, man, that is too long, bro. You gotta stay on task. All right. Thanks for joining, and I will see you in the next masterclass. Oh. Take care, everybody.